This is for educational purpose only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. Hello everyone, I'm Cadet Tigzon, and our topic is about 6 core claims of globalism. So, according to Michael Frieden, globalization in people's minds exists because it has a consistent set of coherent and complementary ideas and beliefs about the global order. In short, globalization is a political system that helps a certain class. He said that there are 6 core claims of globalization. First claim is globalization is about the liberation and global integration of markets, meaning that the triumph of markets over government remains at the center of globalization, according to Stiger 2005. Also, as an effect, globalization power is overly controlled. For example, taxation, crime prevention, anti-competition policies, social services, and etc. An example of this is that there's great participation of private entities. It can allow those people who want to open a business in the free market. Second claim is globalization is inevitable and irreversible, so meaning that globality is the endpoint that it cannot be stopped. Market will help us reach the endpoint due to growing demand on all the aspects of globalized market of developed and developing countries. Third claim is nobody is in charge of globalization. If market forces to decide our history's path, no social class or group can dominate the globalization agenda. The reason why nobody is in charge of globalization because most countries are possessive of their own economy. The fourth claim is globalization benefits everyone because globalization brings economic growth. Many people are lifted out of poverty. The middle class has been expanded. Rapid dissemination of information, technological innovation, growth of skilled jobs. A great example of this is the businessmen like Steve Jobs and his business Apples that gained wealth by trading to other countries. The fifth claim is globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world. Example for this is the act of voting that we have the freedom to pick our leaders for our country, and human rights, a basic right that everyone needs to respect and follow. Sixth claim is globalization requires war on terror. Terrorism stalls global free trade and economic growth. So that's the sixth core of globalization.
First is globalization is about the liberalization and global integration of markets. Globalization is focused on the global integration and liberalization of markets. It encompasses various aspects of life, but it is the most commonly associated with the rise of global markets, economies, and multinational corporations. Economic globalization is based on the liberalization of international trade goods and service as well of the free market. The increasing of interdependencies of the countries is the result of the integration of the trade, finance, investment, and labor market, an idea of one global marketplace. The liberalization of the trade, international capital markets, and the international migration have been contributed by the process of the globalization falls short and theoretical expectation, particularly of the low-income countries. Liberalization. Liberalization is the losing of government controls, although sometimes associated with the relaxation of the law regulating social matters such as abortion of the divorce liberalization. It is the most often used to economics term. It is the particular It refers to reduction in the restriction of the international trade and capital. Liberalization is often treated as synonymous decreations, that is, removal state of restriction on business. It is a principle of two are dictates that liberalization markets can be still subject to government regulation. For example, Internet. Internet is the delivery different types of information that media across network device. It operates using an internet protocol. And transportation control protocol makes route network. Whenever you visit a website, the computer mobile will request the service such as protocol. Foreign currency exchange. Foreign currency refers as the exchange of the currency of one country to another. At prevailing exchange rate, let us take a close look at the meaning of foreign exchange. Different countries have different currency. Foreign exchange is covered the currency of one country into another.
I am the cadet Migadino Junior S, and today I'm gonna tackle the one of the 6 core claims of globalization, that entitled Globalization is Inevitable and Irreversible. This topic can be understandable since the phrase or word itself can be delivered in a short explanation. So before I begin to explain the meaning of the topic, I'm gonna share some small trivia regarding the words that define this topic. The word globalization is the development of an increasingly integrated global economy. It is also more of an influence from one country to another. The word inevitable is the incapability of being avoided or evaded. Then the word irreversible means that it can be unrecoverable or irredeemable. So going back to the main topic, globalization is some sort of a natural force. It is easier for globalists to convince people that they have to adapt to the discipline of the market if they have to survive and prosper. Globalization is an inevitable and irreversible process that has significant impact on the world in technology, economic, cultural, and international influences. Here are some examples with globalizations that are inevitable and irreversible trend driven by several key factors. First is the technological advancement. Modern technology like the internet, social media, and global transportation have made communication, travel, and trade easier than before. Second interdependence. Countries are increasingly reliant on each other for the trade, investment, economic growth. The rise of multinational corporations and global supply chains has made economies deeply intertwined. While globalization faces some challenges like political backlash and economic disruptions, it is ultimately a reversible process. The benefits of globalization in terms of economic growth, efficiency, and cultural exchange outweigh the drawbacks. So globalization is inevitable and irreversible phenomenon driven by technology, economies, and culture. That's all.
I am Det Cadet Vallejo Hans Carbisi. Today I'm gonna tackle the third core claim, which is Claim 3, nobody is in charge of globalization. Claim 3 asserts that nobody is in charge of globalization. This claim is based on the concept of the self-regulating market in classical liberalism. The idea is that if the market operates without interference, it dictates the course of history, and globalization is not driven by the agenda of a specific social class or group. Globalists are not seen as imposing their political goals on others, but rather as a following the inevitable outcomes of a larger force beyond individual or partisan interests. The proponents of this claim, such as Robert Hormats and Thomas Friedman, emphasize that globalization operates without a central authority controlling it. They describe globalization as being driven by market forces, electronic traders, and multinational investors rather than individuals, governments, or institutions. After the events of 9/11, some globalists found it challenging to maintain the belief that nobody is in charge of globalization. It becomes evident that the survival of globalization depended on the political leadership of the United States exerting its power. The aftermath 9/11 revealed the imperial ambitions of certain American globalists who had previously hidden them behind the facade of market globalism. The discourse shifted towards debate on American global leadership and whether the United States could be considered an empire. The shift that claimed three of advocating for global Anglo-American leaderships does not signify a weakness in globalism's ideology, but rather demonstrate its ability to adapt to new political challenges. Globalism is portrayed as a comprehensive belief system that can encompass both the market-oriented approach of the 1990s and the more militaristic stance post 9/11. Globalization is a complex and multifaceted process that has no single entity in charge, which various actors play significant roles. The decentralized nature of globalization makes it inherently difficult to pinpoint a single authority. The decentralized nature of globalization. Globalization is not a top-down process orchestrated by a single entity. Instead, it is driven by a complex interplay of forces, including market forces. The global market, fueled by the movement of capital, goods, and services, plays a significant role in shaping globalization. Investors, corporations, and consumers all contribute to this dynamic, making it difficult for any one entity to insert complete control. Technological advancements. Rapid technological development, particularly in communication and transportation, have accelerated globalization. The Internet, for example, has enabled individuals and organizations to connect and interact across borders with unprecedented ease. International organization like the World Trade Organization.
International organizations. International organizations like the World Trade Organization and the International Monetary Fund play a role in setting rules and guidelines for global trade and finance. However, their influence is limited by the need for consensus among member states. First is nation states. Individual countries play a crucial role in shaping globalization through their trade policies, immigration, laws, and foreign relations. However, their ability to control the process is often constrained by the actions of other nations and the global market. Individuals. Globalization has empowered individuals to act on a global scale and often bypassing traditional state-centric structures. The internet and social media have facilitated the spread of ideas, activism, and cultural exchange, making it more difficult for any single entity to control information flow. The super-empowered individual and the backlash. The rise of the super-empowered individual is a key aspect of globalization Individuals can now act on the world stage directly and mediated by state. This has led to both positive and negative consequences. While individuals have gained greater agency to influence global events, it has also fueled a backlash against globalization. People who feel overwhelmed or marginalized by the process often express resentment towards the perceived lack of control. The need for governance and regulation. The absence of a single entity in charge of globalization has prompted calls for greater governance and regulation. Critics argue that the current system is characterized by inequality, exploitation, and environmental degradation. They advocate for international cooperation and a more equitable distribution of benefits of globalization. This idea holds that globalization is not a top-down process orchestrated by a specific group or entity, but rather an immediate outcome of market forces, technological advancement, and individual actions. While the claim has its proponents, it also faces significant criticism. Pros of the nobody is in charge argument. Efficiency and innovation. The absence of a central authority allows for greater flexibility and adaptability, fostering innovation, economic growth driven by market forces. This can lead to a more efficient allocation of resources and wider range of products and services for consumers. Empowerment of individuals. Globalization empowers individuals to act on a global scale, bypassing traditional state-centric structures. This can lead to greater freedom, creativity, and a more diverse range of perspective on global issues. Next is natural progression. Proponents argue that globalization is a natural consequence of technological advancement and the inherent desire for trade and cooperation. It is seen as an inevitable force that cannot be controlled, and attempts to do so would be futile and potentially harmful.
The globalization benefits everyone. Globalization refers to the increasing interconnectedness and interdependence of world economies, cultures, and population, driven by the advances in technology, communication, and trade. While the benefits of globalization are widespread, they do not affect everyone equally. First, economic growth and development. Increased trade. Globalization has led to a significant increase in trade between countries. Nations can specialize in producing goods and services that they can produce most efficiently, leading to better resource allocation and higher productivity. This trade expansion fosters economic growth, rising incomes, and living standard in many parts of the world. Second, access to technology and innovation. Technology transfer. As companies operate globally, they often bring advanced technologies and practice to different regions. Their transfer of technology can help less developed countries modernize their industries, improve productivity, and enhance their global competitiveness. Innovation diffusion. Globalization fosters the spread of the idea and innovation across borders. Companies and researchers can collaborate internationally, leading to faster innovation and sharing of the best practice. There can lead to advancements of various fields, including healthcare, education, and environmental sustainability. Globalization has potential to benefit everyone by promoting economic growth, technological advancement, culture enhance, and global cooperation. However, the extent of which individuals and communities benefits from globalization depends on various factors, including their economic position, access to education and technology, and the policy implemented by the governments to maximize the benefits of the globalization and minimize its downside. It's crucial to pursue inclusive and sustainable development strategies that address the needs of all peoples, especially those who are marginalized or disadvantaged.
I'm the Cadet Baroza Patrick C, and I'm going to discuss how globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world. Globalization, which is a complex and multifaceted process characterized by the increasing interconnectedness and interdependence of countries and people across the globe, has significantly influenced the spread of democracy. The relationship between globalization and democracy is intricate, as globalization serves as both a catalyst and a conduit for democratic ideals, practices, and institutions. One of the most significant ways in globalization has further spread democracy is through the rapid and widespread dissemination of information. The advent of internet, social media, and global news networks has created an unprecedented level of connectivity, allowing people from different parts of the world to access and share information instantaneously. This free flow of information serves as a powerful tool for spreading democratic ideas such as human rights, freedom of speech, and the rule of law. Globalization has led to a high degree of economic interdependence among nations, which can create incentives for democratic governance. Countries that are deeply integrated into the global economy are more likely to adopt democratic practices for several reasons. Democracies tend to have more transparent and stable political systems which are attractive to foreign investors. Countries seeking to participate in the global economy may therefore be influenced to adopt democratic reforms to attract investment and trade partnerships. Globalization can lead to economic growth, which in turn can help develop a middle class. Historically, the growth of a middle class has been associated with increased demands for political participation and democratic governance. A more affluent and educated population is more likely to demand accountability, transparency, and participation in the political process, all of which are hallmarks of democracy. While globalization has undoubtedly contributed to the spread of democracy, it is not without its challenges and criticisms. Some argue that globalization can also lead to the spread of liberal practices for the entrenchment of authoritarian regimes that benefit from global economic ties without adopting democratic norms. Some authoritarian regimes have become adept at using the tools of globalization to maintain power. They may use global trade and investment to bolster their economies while simultaneously suppressing political dissent. Globalization can exacerbate economic inequality both within and between countries. In some cases, this inequality can lead to social unrest and weaken the prospects for democracy. This concludes that globalization has played a significant role in promoting the spread of democracy around the world through the flow of information, economic interdependence, the activities of international institutions, the growth of civil society, and the influence of global norms. Globalization has created a more favorable environment for democratic governance.
I am Cadet Riamonansa, and today I'm going to explain why globalization requires a global war on terror. So, the argument that globalization requires a global war on terror stems from the idea that as the world becomes more interconnected through economic, political, and cultural exchanges, it also becomes more vulnerable to transnational threats like terrorism. So, in a globalized world, the actions of non-state actors such as terrorist organizations can have far-reaching impacts beyond the borders of any single nation. So these groups can exploit global communication networks, financial systems, and the ease of international travel to plan and execute attacks, spread their ideologies, and recruit members across different regions. So the proponents of the idea argue that because terrorism is not confined to any one country or region, so it coordinated international response. So, a global war on terror in this context is seen as essential to protect the interconnected world from these threats. So, this involves not just military actions, but also international cooperation in intelligence sharing, law enforcement, and diplomatic efforts. So the argument further suggests that aspects of globalization, such as economic inequality and cultural tensions, can contribute to the rise of terrorism. So therefore, combating terrorism requires addressing these underlying costs on a global scale, potentially through strategies that go beyond mere military intervention. However, the concept of a global war on terror is not without its criticism. So opponents argue that the militaristic approach often associated with the global war on terror can lead to unintended consequences, such as destabilization of regions, the infringement of civil liberties, and the exacerbation of global tensions. So they suggest that a more nuanced approach is necessary, one that focuses on addressing the root causes of terrorism, such as poverty, political instability, and lack of education, rather than relying solely on military force. So, in conclusion, while globalization may indeed necessitate a global response to terrorism, the idea of a global war on terror is complex and controversial. It raises important questions about how best to balance security with with the preservation of civil liberties, how to address the root causes of terrorism, and how to engage in international cooperation in a way that promotes stability rather than conflict.